Hello Weekend Crafter! Welcome back to the Craft Time Studio. I'm Ange, your Weekend Crafter, and today I want to show you how I made these Dior-inspired notebook covers from polymer clay. It's almost time to go back to school, so I thought this might be a good project to do for those who want to customize their notebooks. But before I begin, I hope you consider liking and subscribing to the Craft Time Studio for your weekend dose of crafts. The inspiration for this design was a Dior paper bag that I saw, which I thought was so detailed and elegant. Dior actually makes notebooks, but of course it does carry a hefty price tag, so I thought of maybe making one with the same aesthetic but in clay. I noticed that in many of the Dior prints, especially for their holiday collection, they use a lot of dark blues, whites, and gold. Now let's go back to the video. First, make sure that you clean your workspace. I just spritz my glass mat with some alcohol and wipe it down. I would call this a prototyping video rather than a tutorial because it's my first time to make something like this, and I'm also learning along the way. It's also for this reason that I just use a spare notebook because I just want to experiment and see what works. So first, I roll out my clay into the number 6 setting. I wanted to try how thin a slab I could make because I didn't want my notebook to be too heavy. So this is a 4 by 6 inch notebook. So it's a pretty big slab. I cut out the excess clay using a tissue blade. Next, I get some leather that I had. I tried to see if I could put some leather texture on the clay. So I placed the textured part of the leather on the clay and rolled it out with my manual roller. Of course, when I rolled out some texture to the clay, it also expanded my clay, and I needed to go back and trim the edges again. As for the texture, I have to say that while the leather did add some texture, it also adhered my clay to the glass mat, which made it trickier to reposition. I was eventually able to slide my blade across the slab to loosen it, but I'm not sure if I would do this step again. As you can see, as I was repositioning the slab, I was trying to smooth out the air bubbles as well. Next, I get an oblong cutter because I want to round off the edges, similar to the actual notebook. I wanted to locate the clay center so that I could stamp my letters. The stamping technique that I am using here is the one that I taught in a previous video. I used mica powder, a stamp pad, and some alphabet stamps. I first stamped the letter on the pad and then I stamped it on the mica powder. Then, I like to clean around it with a cotton bud because I want my letters to be very crisp. I'll place a link of the tutorial for stamping with mica as well as where we could get those alphabet stamps. And of course, since we're working with mica, we have to frequently clean out our work area as the mica powder could easily stick to our clay. For this next part, I go ahead and puncture the slab with a detail needle. This is to release any air bubbles that might have gotten trapped in between the glass and the clay. It's a very small needle point hole, so I don't worry about it showing up. Plus, I try to close each hole bubble by rubbing on it gently. I notice more air pockets the thinner I roll out my slab. After that part is done, it's time to bring out the silicone molds of flowers. What attracted me the most about the Dior paper bag was how it looked like a floral slab. And so this next step is me basically making a floral slab. First is the choice of colors. Again, as we are taking inspiration from Dior, we are using a lot of deep blues, whites, and gold. I roll out my dark blue clay into the number 7 setting to prepare. I also brought out the extruder to make very thin logs that will be the stems of the flowers for the slab. Then, I just distribute the stems around the slab.
So you still want to live?
After that, I got my extruder again. This time, I used a teardrop shape to make a log that I use for making leaves. I used a clay blade and made thin slices. Then I placed the leaves one by one along the stems. This is very tedious and time-consuming, so be patient. Then I drew a line across each leaf to make the center vein. Now I use different floral cutters to fill the slab. I flattened my white clay into the number 7 setting. For the gold element, I brush some mica on my silicone molds before I press the dark blue clay in it. This would coat the flower with the mica powder. For the remainder of the video, I just filled my slabs with more flowers and leaves, and I made sure to texture both the flowers and the leaves.
coming to? I assume the month. Still feeding the dreams he was meant to serve. Yes. The last is Fiddler's Green. Fiddler's Green. That is passing strange. He's after all Vavasour is only me who was so reliable. I know. This is my fault. Had I been able to blame my fault? It was not your fault. Go on. There are rumours among the dream folk of a vortex. Perhaps you might wish to investigate. The rumours are quite true. There is a vortex. A true amulet. The first of this era. Then you must hunt for it, sir. It must be controlled. The vortex is a she, monsieur, not an it. At the end is forbidden from taking action against any mortal who is not an active threat. Yes, but should the threat become active? No, perhaps one of our problems may prove a solution to the other three. She is a vortex, after all. Sooner or later she will draw the stray dreams to her. Is that not risky, Lord? She could destroy the dreaming, as the waking world and the princess. I'm watching her. Yes, but only when she sleeps. Perhaps one of us should survey her in the waking world. Very well. Monsieur will tell you what to look for, Matthew. And what you see, I too will see. Becca, we're here. I just happened to be in the street. Miss Walker. Hi, I'm Rose. I'm Lana Hall. Are you insane? Well, some solicitors on this side of the Atlantic. Is this a foundation headquarters? This is a private care home for the elderly. My client is a resident. Shall we go in? If you'll follow me. Your client runs the foundation? My client would explain everything much better than I can this hall. Do you know what an amulet is? A what? Amulet? It's a kind of ring, I believe, or worth. But it's such a young girl, or such a long worth. Not that young, not such a long. No, 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 no. No, that's the thing I do. But the reason is not part of it. Trust me. My name is Lucy Kincaid. My name is Calder of Rosal. Please, come. Thank you. Oh, that's the one around here. Looks like you. Nice, Barbie. I didn't get a chance to paint it. Why not? That's why I'm here, actually. There's something called and said that I should without you. Rise and shine, Dormouse. I can't see. I think my cat. Bobby? Lucy? Where's Davidson? Until 8 months ago. But in my dreams, happiness go away flies. I took over my father's business, and the reason I have golden eyes, I was already. It wasn't until I woke up that I found out the number was I was in hospital. I had a baby girl. They asked the doctor to find that Mr. Holloway found out she was adopted by a foreigner. But she grew up to have a daughter from her. But remind me. Remind me. My mom got sick, Leia and husband basically adopted me. It's not like Rose adopted us, which makes you and your husband my family too.
Finally, this piece gets baked. For the final touch, I get some alcohol and neaten the letters by removing the excess mica around it. I did this using some alcohol on a cotton bud. Then, I attach the cover to my notebook. If you've baked your slab correctly, it should be bendable. What I liked about what I made is that the notebook remained lightweight in spite of the clay cover. However, I think that I still need to figure out how to remove all the air bubbles as well as to improve the texture. I also want to find out my other options for attaching the clay to the notebook cover. But overall, I felt it was a good first attempt and I want to make more of this in the future. I hope that you had fun watching this video. If you haven't yet checked out my IG account, please go to crafttime.ph. Thank you and have a crafty weekend. Bye!